Good afternoon, and thank you to the Pontifical Academy of Sciences for the invitation to speak about human trafficking and international crime against humanity. And to Susanna Medina, President of the International Association of Women Judges, and to the International Association of Women Judges for the invitation and for being a leader in its work on human trafficking and sextortion all around the world. According to the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, which has gathered data from over 155 countries, approximately 79% of human trafficking is sexual exploitation, of which the victims are predominantly women and girls, and approximately 18% of the reported cases are forced labor. Since 2000, 140 countries have criminalized sex and labor trafficking. Trafficking convictions, however, remain low. In 2016, of the 16 million forced labor victims worldwide, only 1,038 cases were prosecuted globally. Although I'm giving statistics, the reality is that this is an invisible crime and there's no way to give an accurate count because, as we know, the vast majority still go unreported. So I give the numbers as a starting point to understanding the gravity of the issue. This crime knows no boundaries and impacts people of all ages and walks of life. As a member of the Executive Committee of the International Association of Women Judges and representing the National Association of Women Judges in the United States, it is an honor to work among so many women and judges on the forefront of an issue that affects women and girls disproportionately. The National Association of Women Judges in the United States collaborates with federal and state courts and other stakeholders to conduct judicial training and education focused on understanding and addressing human trafficking. It is partnered with the Human Trafficking and State Courts Collaborative to produce information and bench cards for judicial officers on human trafficking and to publish a guidebook for court staff, administrators, and judges to inform and assist in identifying and addressing human trafficking in their courtrooms. States are recognizing the need for collaborative or problem-solving courts across the country to assist victims of human trafficking. The state of California, as you heard earlier, has been aggressive in its efforts to address the issue with the creation of human trafficking courts and training across the state, and recently published a human trafficking toolkit for judges. In my home court, the Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas, with its commitment to fairness and access to justice, saw a need to address the growing number of human trafficking cases in juvenile delinquency hearings, and in 2013, created a specialty court referred to as WRAP Court, which stands for Working to Restore Adolescents' Power, that seeks to provide alternatives to criminalization for minor victims of sex trafficking by providing specialized trauma-informed treatment to victims in the least restrictive and most holistic environment. Children who have been arrested and identified as victims of sex trafficking are offered an opportunity to participate in WRAP through a pretrial diversion program. The goal of the program is to work collaboratively with the child to promote treatment, healing, and restoration while ensuring the safety of the child victim. Rather than adjudicating these children delinquent for crimes that directly result from their sexual exploitation, the WRAP program diverts the child from the adjudicatory system into the child welfare system, empowering them to heal and move away from their trauma. Youth are identified and referred to the program by various stakeholders, including the presiding judge, prosecutors, defense attorneys, child advocates, FBI personnel, human services agencies, juvenile probation officers, and community mental health and substance abuse providers. Acceptance into the program is determined informally by a consensus of the team, members, or stakeholders. All of the team members attend ongoing training and engage in ongoing discussions to determine best practices and ways to manage the levels of risk to the personal safety of the RAP court population, as well as to identify the appropriate services. All juveniles who have been identified as victims of human trafficking and receive services through RAP have their cases addressed by that same multidisciplinary team, and all of the stakeholders also attend the hearing. Participation in the RAP court can lead to diversion of delinquent petitions of all but the most serious felonies, early expungement of delinquent records after program completion, community-based services from providers with experience in trauma-based treatments for victims of human sexual trafficking, and a team approach to problem solving, including frequent informal conversations with the child, and finally, treatment in the least restrictive setting available. Also in 2014, Pennsylvania passed Act 105 to include sex trafficking in the Pennsylvania Crimes Code, which has provided prosecutors with the ability to charge traffickers with a variety of offenses, including fines and penalties against individuals and businesses involved in human trafficking, and provides for civil remedies for victims against their traffickers. Earlier this year, the first lawsuit was filed in Pennsylvania under the 2014 human trafficking statute, which established that businesses that directly or indirectly benefit from human trafficking can be held civilly responsible and forced to pay compensation to its victims. The suit was filed against a hotel on behalf of a 17-year-old girl who claimed she was forced to perform sexual acts with men at the hotel, and that the hotel knowingly and regularly provided hotel rooms to her traffickers. The case has not gone to trial yet, but I am sure it is the first of many. In New York, the Queens Human Trafficking Intervention Court was created in 2004 as a way to deal with child sex trafficking cases that were appearing in misdemeanor criminal court. Underage girls were being instructed by their pimps to lie about their age so that their cases could be easily disposed of, and so they could escape the scrutiny of family court. Services were provided through collaboration and partnership with the girls' mentoring organization, and with time, diversion from routine incarceration and punishment developed into a program that recognized that many individuals in the commercial sex trade were either exploited or trafficked. Again, the objective of the court is to identify the needs of the individual defendants and connect them to the appropriate service providers and to resolve their cases with non-criminal dispositions. The court employs an innovative collaborative approach to the treatment of the victim defendants in addressing human trafficking cases. Services range dependent on individual needs of the child. Services are provided both in court with advocates and outside of court. The court also takes a trauma-informed approach for all defendants and is able to provide intensive drug and mental health treatment and placement. Since its inception, the court has gone from 50 cases a year to over 600 cases. With the participation and support of prosecutors and the defense bar, Most of the prostitution-related cases are being resolved with non-criminal dispositions. Due to the success of the Queen's model, in 2014, a statewide network of trafficking intervention courts was created to address the problem of trafficking victims in the criminal justice system. States are creating task force and designing advertising campaigns on billboards, such as Know It, See It, Report It, as ways to shine a spotlight on human trafficking. As judges, we remain vigilant in our efforts to dispense justice fairly and impartially as we preside in our courtrooms while observing the impact of human trafficking. The Human Trafficking in State Courts Collaborative addresses ethical issues that can arise for judges and courts in handling human trafficking cases. Some areas worth noting are acting or appearing to act as an advocate for a human trafficking victim in the context of a criminal prosecution without compromising our neutrality or taking any action that may give the appearance of bias. It also addresses extrajudicial activities. While these are ethical issues we must always consider as judges, addressing human trafficking in the courtroom requires a heightened awareness of balancing our ethical obligations and judicial responsibilities. As we look at the work being done in addressing the myriad of issues related to human trafficking, we must continue to find ways to judge fairly and impartially while working collaboratively with stakeholders to reduce the effect of human trafficking on its victims and be innovative in our thinking as we look at ways to combat this international crime against humanity and remain on the forefront of educating our communities while reducing the impact on victims in our courtrooms and in finding effective sanctions for traffickers. As we leave here today, I know the great work being done by the judges and prosecutors at this summit will go on. The work of the International Association of Women Judges and National Associations of Women Judges will go on, and the conversations we've had over the past 2 days will continue to spark new ideas, better practices, and further collaborations. I look forward to it. Thank you.